So, today we're going to dive into one of the most talented, most compelling, and yeah, most controversial figures in all of world football, Real Madrid's Vinícius Júnior. This is a guy who's just pure magic on the ball, but at the same time, he's almost always at the center of some kind of conflict. It's really the perfect way to put it. He's absolutely one of the most electrifying, must-see players you can watch, but he's also a total lightning rod for the absolute ugliest side of the game. His career, especially lately, it's just a story of incredible highs and some really disturbing lows.
And look, to really get a handle on the kind of pressure this guy is under, we've got to start with one of the most shocking incidents in recent memory. It was a truly chilling welcome to the year 2023.
I mean, you really can't overstate how horrifying this was. This was so far beyond just fan banter. We're talking about radical fans hanging a mannequin of him, an effigy, from a bridge right before a huge derby match. It was a clear, targeted, hateful act that, yeah, it was condemned, but it set this absolutely terrifying tone for the year that was about to unfold.
And you know what? That whole thing with the bridge, that wasn't a one-off. It was really just the beginning of this constant, unrelenting onslaught. 2023 pretty much became the year Vini was constantly under fire, and it was coming from every single direction.
And when you look at the timeline, it's just relentless. There's no space to breathe. In January, you have the effigy. Then in February, he's dealing with racist chants in Mallorca and gets taken out by a brutal foul from Gabriel Paulista. By April, he's in a verbal sparring match during El-Clasico. And it all just builds and builds until it explodes in May at Valencia's stadium. It was just one thing after another.
So you see, he was basically fighting a war on two fronts. You've got the physical side of it. I mean, opponents were just deliberately targeting him with these awful fouls. And then at the same time, he's getting this constant, vile, racist abuse from the stands. That's a level of pressure that very few athletes ever have to deal with.
But this is where the whole story gets even more complicated, because there's this counter-narrative, right? After Vini was caught telling a Barcelona player, "Shut up, you're terrible," one of their defenders, Ronald Araujo, said this. And this quote, it really captures the argument from his opponents that Vinícius himself, with his on-field antics, the taunts, the celebrations, that he's actually provoking some of this hostility.
And that brings us to the Mestalla incident, which just became this global flashpoint. This wasn't just another game. The match literally stopped because Vinícius went to the stands, pointed out his abusers, and just refused to back down. The whole thing spiraled into a brawl. He gets a red card, which, by the way, was later taken back because the racist provocation was just so extreme. 10 minutes. Just think about that for a second. An entire professional football match, one of the biggest leagues in the world, just stops for 10 whole minutes. All because the racist abuse aimed at one player got so bad that it became completely impossible to ignore. That number, 10, it really signifies a breaking point.
But here's the thing about Vini Jr. He is not a passive victim. Not even close. Faced with all of this, he started to fight back. And not just against players and fans, but against the entire establishment, the very institutions of the sport.
And man, he did not hold back. Right after that Mestalla mess, he goes online and posts this absolutely explosive statement. He wasn't just calling out the fans anymore. He was directly calling out the entire Spanish football machine, the league, the federation, and accusing them of being complicit, of making racism seem normal. This was him throwing down the gauntlet, a direct challenge to the people in charge.
And the response from the head of La Liga himself, Javier Tebas? Well, it was pretty stunning. Instead of, supporting the player who was just racially abused, he goes on Twitter and basically scolds Vini, telling him not to be manipulated. I mean, it was an unbelievable PR disaster, and the whole world condemned it.
Well, as you can imagine, the backlash was huge. It was so bad that a few days later, Tebas had to come out and walk it all back. This apology, it just goes to show you the power Vini now had. By speaking up, he literally forced one of the most powerful guys in football to publicly back down.
And his fight wasn't just about racism. Off the pitch, he decided to take on a corporate giant. He felt like Nike was undervaluing him, so he tried to break his contract. He even blacked out the logo on his boots during a game as a protest. Nike took him to court, but guess what? In the end, Vini got what he wanted, a brand new, much better deal. It just proved, once again, that he was going to fight for his value no matter who he was up against.
Okay, but as we get closer to today, the story starts to get, well, more complicated. The focus starts shifting a bit, from Vinícius the victim to Vinícius the, volatile figure whose own temper has become a huge part of the story. So get this, both of his career red cards have come against the same team, Valencia. Now the first one, back in 2023, that got overturned because of the awful racist abuse, but the second one, in 2025, for striking their goalkeeper, that one stuck. The Federation upheld his ban. It shows this pattern of conflict, for sure, but it also shows a shift in how the authorities are starting to see his reactions.
And then, there was this moment. We're talking about the biggest game there is, El-Clasico. His own coach takes him off, and his reaction is just pure rage. He gestures at the coach, storms right past the bench, and goes straight down the tunnel. Now, he did apologize to the fans later, but he very pointedly left the coach out of it. And look, this time it wasn't about racist fans or dirty fouls. This was just his own temperament boiling over.
So, when you step back and you put all of this together, what do you see? Well, you see an incredibly complicated portrait of a modern superstar. A guy who is forging a very, very fiery legacy.
Because the full picture shows that all of these things can be true at the same time. He is, without a doubt, the target of horrific and repeated racist abuse. He is a courageous fighter who isn't afraid to take on these powerful systems. And he is a fiery, emotional competitor whose temper absolutely gets the best of him sometimes, which makes him both a victim and, to his critics, a provocateur.
In a way, he's a perfect mirror for the modern game, isn't he? In Vinícius Júnior, you see it all. The breathtaking skill, the ugly racism that still plagues the sport, the huge corporate battles, and that intense, win-at-all-costs mentality that can sometimes bubble over and cross the line.
And that really leaves us with the one central question that seems to define his career so far. Is his volatility a direct result of the relentless, non-stop hate he has been forced to endure? Or is he a provocateur on the pitch who needlessly pours fuel on the fire? The answer, just like the man himself, is anything but simple.